Hi everyone, Christina Del Rey with your forecast we have May 31st, 2021. So I really just want to talk about what's going to happen in the first week of June. We have Mercury going retrograde actually today. Today's the 29th, and kind of impacting a lot, I think. Mercury is making a square to Neptune, which is really kind of confusing things. There's a lot of unclear information right now. So, whatever information you're getting, don't necessarily, bet the farm on it. Just make sure that you have an open mind that what you're hearing now might not be completely true. Now, we've also just come out of a lunar eclipse, and I'm curious how everybody fared during that. And I think that because of Mercury and the square of Neptune, I think that we don't necessarily know the full results of this eclipse just yet. And I think the same thing is going to happen with the June eclipse that's coming June 10th. And that one is also has Mercury involved, Mercury retrograde involved, and square Neptune. So, it's like a lot of just confusing information. Things you hear might not be accurate. It might be some deception too. So you have to be really careful depending upon where it falls in your chart. I should also mention, along with this energy, we have the second Saturn square Uranus coming up on the 14th. So things get a little crazy astrologically in June. It's really pushing you to act on freedom and responsibility somewhere in your life. So if you think that May was interesting, June is about to get a whole lot more interesting. I think it's going to be a little bit confusing because of the Mercury energy. And also to Mercury retrograde, like we're going to have, because it's Gemini too, so Gemini rules communications, Gemini rules transportation, short-term transportation. So, expect a lot of delays with tech issues and cars, trucks, things like that. Just a lot of necessity to have patience, I guess. It's going to be necessary to have patience. So things get a little wild. But this week I think it's pretty tame. It just, maybe some frustrations with the Mercury energy, but June 2nd, Venus enters Cancer. So I think Venus in Cancer is a really nice energy. Venus is all about showing love and caretaking when she's in Venus. I actually have this natally. So I always think it kind of makes me a good mom. And Venus is at home in Cancer as well. And June 3rd, Venus is going to trine Jupiter. I think that this is a fantastic energy. It's very hopeful. It's romantic. It's just feeling at your best. The two benefics, making a beautiful aspect to each other. It's just time to be in a good mood and maybe even in love. June 5th, we have the second Mercury square Neptune. So again, things get foggy. It's going to be like fake news, and this I always think of like ghosting and people not being real upfront with you, and just like lies with Mercury square Neptune. So take it with a grain of salt and just wait. You have to really wait until like the 22nd or 23rd, until things really kind of start to make sense more. Okay, so let's see where this falls in your chart. So Aries. So Aries, Venus is going to move into the 4th house for you, which is really nice. It means that you're going to enjoy your home more. If you are buying or selling a house, this could potentially make that a little bit easier. Maybe some more money in the situation could come to you. Maybe it almost seems like, because Jupiter is in your 12th house, it almost seems like a guardian angel is watching over you and maybe giving you a little boost when it comes to the home. Or this could really be, you could be spending time at home with a romantic partner too, maybe, behind the scenes, curling up and just enjoying each other. We also have Mercury square Neptune. So Mercury square Neptune, it's just going to be like, try not to engage in social media fights, because you're going to have a lot of people, perhaps, potentially, maybe like, because Neptune's in the 12th. So, these could be like hidden enemies that you didn't know were there, and then like people kind of attacking you or saying things about you that are untrue. Always take the high road with that. You don't want to perpetuate such things. And I would just watch, like, give yourself plenty of travel time, and, I just frustration. And you don't really know where it's coming from. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm sabotaged, and you're not. It's just supposed to slow you down and make you think, and you're not in control of everything. So that's kind of a big lesson right now, is that we have to surrender and we're not in control. Okay. And we also have, on the 5th, we also have Mars opposing Pluto. So for this one, when you have an opposition, this can be somebody attacking your power. So if you are involved in the sale of a home, this could be somebody, making an offer. This could end up being, your home life and your work life sort of getting in the way of each other, and you kind of have to figure out how to balance the two. So, you need to take action in your home, but somehow it affects your status or your job, your career. So you have to figure out how to do that. And if you think back to, anytime we have Pluto and Mars together, like we're talking about like potential attacks on your personal power. So, somebody could be perhaps like, attacking your power or attacking your status some way. And you may have to take some kind of action to stop that. But you don't want to take aggressive action. You want to think back to like August, think back all the way to last year. And at the time I had called it planetary war. So you don't want to take war on anybody, but you want to defend yourself and make the best outcome if somebody is attacking you. That's the most important. So like I said, with this Mercury energy, take it with a grain of salt. Expect, people to come out of the woodwork in social media, in the neighborhood. There could be rumors. This is like rumor energy. Could be rumors about you. You may find that you have to defend yourself. That could be part of the Mars-Pluto energy. So just, kind of watch what you say, remember that you're not in control, but take the high road. Next week, you will have a solar eclipse, and it's going to also be in that 3rd house as well. So, it's going to be like that confusing energy where you're going to, like we said, rumors, but this is going to be like a new beginning. But it's going to be a while before you kind of figure out what that new beginning is going to lead to. So communication is on the forefront this week. And you kind of want to go internal rather than external. Okay, Aries. Okay, Taurus. So, Taurus, Venus is going to enter on the 2nd, your third house of communication. So, this is really nice for social media. Um, it is going to trine Jupiter. So, if you are interested in meeting somebody on social media, this might be a nice time to do that. You could potentially meet a friend of a friend too if you were to go out into some kind of social grouping or some kind of social event. And if friends were involved, it's possible that you could meet somebody through a friend. This is really beautiful energy, and you could also like showcase your talents too with this energy. So this is a very hopeful and romantic, feel good energy. So you might want to take advantage of that. And on June 5th, we have Mercury squaring Neptune. So Neptune is in it's almost like the energy changes. It's really nice in the beginning of the week, and then we get further into the week and we're like, gets a little more confusing. We have the second hit of Mercury square Neptune, and we get into maybe some misunderstandings. Possibly like, friends misunderstanding what your values are. Maybe they just don't get it. Maybe you're having trouble communicating what your values are. It does seem to be like acquaintances and friends. So later in the week, just make sure that you're being clear. Take your time explaining yourself. There could be tech issues. There could be some lies, communication mishaps. So you just want to take it with a grain of salt and be aware that everything that you hear right now, especially from friends, not necessarily the whole picture. So it's going to depend on, that Jupiter Venus in the beginning of the week might, you might meet somebody, and then later in the week you're like, ooh, I don't know about this person, and it's going to take a while for it to pan out before you really know what's going on. So, just keep it light until probably Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. Also on the 5th, we have Mars opposing Pluto. So this is potentially, this could be, somebody trying to perhaps bring their power against your personal power. So you just want to watch for any kind of, legal matters. There could be somebody kind of coming at you aggressively as far as a legal matter. It could be somebody kind of confronts you with, if you're in a higher education setting or an education setting at all, and maybe you feel a little threatened or even angry, because Mars and Pluto have to do with anger. So you want to kind of think back to like August and October and December. I think I called it planetary war in my previous horoscopes. And you definitely want to take a step back and a breath before you act, and realize, just realize what you're going to do not to allow this person or this situation to take away your power. You're going to perhaps act in a way that is going to empower yourself. You have to learn to balance those two, and third house can also be like contracts as well. So somebody could be coming at you kind of maybe aggressively about, a contract or something, or maybe you are making the aggressive contact, and you have to see what your power is in a legal matter. Okay. Gemini. So Gemini, we have Venus entering your second house of values and money. So I love Venus here because Venus usually brings more money. And with the trine on the 3rd, Jupiter is in your 10th house of career, and then it's trining Venus in the second house, and that really equals money and opportunity. That's really very beautiful. Maybe you are communicating your values and making money for it. Or maybe you are teaching and making money for it, but there's something here in the career area that you kind of need to jump on and will make you more money. And then as we get into the week, the energy kind of changes, and you are ruled by Mercury. So you have to kind of be a little more on guard when Mercury goes retrograde. So Mercury is turning retrograde right now, today, on the 29th, and it is squaring Neptune. So although you have this beautiful trine, a couple days later you have this square, and it could be a lot of miscommunications from you, or people aren't understanding you the way that you need them to, and it's very frustrating. So if people do misunderstand you, you want to just take a step back, and obviously correct it. But, you don't want to feed into the confusing energy too much. You kind of want to wait. Things will get much more clear around the 22nd when Mercury goes direct. But as far as, you speaking out to people could potentially take it the wrong way. And because you are ruled by Mercury, you really just kind of want to watch what you say at this point. And we also have Pluto and Mars opposing each other. So it's almost like we have, Pluto is, so there could be a situation where, you have to make a move on funds or money or, investments, and maybe even, somebody is opposing that and you kind of have to take action on that. There could be a power struggle here with Mars, and you want to think back to any power struggles you had last August, last October, and last December, and you want to make sure that you're getting more of the story now. So you want to make sure that you use the knowledge that you're gaining to empower yourself in this area. So it seems like money and investments are key this week for you. Okay. But don't forget, you have that Mercury retrograde, which, Mercury is your planet, so things are going to be a little fuzzy. And you're just going to have to kind of trust the universe on this one and detach a bit. And when Mercury starts going direct, things are going to get more clear. Okay, Cancer. So Venus enters your sign on June 2nd, which is really lovely because you are always more attractive when Venus is in your sign. So live it up now. People are going to want to talk to you and be near you. So, enjoy that while that's there. You always, look more attractive, and it is potential to meet somebody if you are looking. On the 3rd, we have Venus trining Jupiter. So if there's anything that has to do with a legal matter here, could seem very hopeful at that time. There could be some good news on that front. And then the energy changes a little bit. June 5th. So we get more into the week, and Mercury squares Neptune, and this becomes sort of confusing in this area. So while earlier in the week you had kind of good news and you were feeling hopeful, and then you might get a piece of good news, or you might be confused about something in the same area. This legal matters. This could be higher education. You could be confused and questioning your belief system. You could get a confusing message from spirit. You could have a really confusing dream. There's something here that's sort of confusing and not just not clear. And you could have all kinds of tech issues and, issues with transportation, or even just understanding what people are talking about, like maybe you are in a class and you're like, well, what is the professor talking about? I don't get it. But, things will clear up, but not until Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. And you'll be having a solar eclipse on the 10th in Gemini. So it'll be in that part of the chart that has to do with endings for you. So there are endings coming, and with the ending, there's always new beginnings. And it's just going to seem really foggy for you. This is part of the chart that has to do with karma as well. So it's like a karmic ending, but new beginning as well. So Cancer, you just had an eclipse in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health. So, and that might have been some kind of ending there, but you may not have the full picture yet because of Mercury. And that solar eclipse, that'll give you more of the story, but again, it's going to be fuzzy and it probably won't be clear until the end of the month. Also, too, we have Mars opposing Pluto, and Mars opposing Pluto for you is going to happen in the first part and the 7th part. So it's like there is motivation for you to maybe confront a relationship. And this could be, you communicating your power, or, you're kind of, you have a power struggle with a romantic partner, or this could be a power struggle with an agreement. So you have to take action on an agreement, but it's like opposing you. So it's like you have to sort of protect your power when you sign this agreement, if that makes sense. Or it could be that you are sort of, you are kind of butting heads with a romantic partner, and you kind of have to stand up for yourself and protect your personal power as well. And think back to like August, think back to October, think back to December, what kind of power struggles were going on. You may see a repeated theme of that. But you definitely don't want to overreact, but at the same time, you do have to defend yourself and your power. Okay. Hello, my Leos. So we have Venus moving into the sign just before ours. So Venus in the 12th house is going to be, I think, restful. I think it's going to be, it's going to be a good time to spend time alone. Or if you are in a relationship, perhaps alone in that relationship with someone. And also too, like, the 12th house is the subconscious. So you could be kind of, really going over your subconscious thoughts, making sure that your values match your subconscious, that you are not out of alignment. And Venus is going to trine Jupiter, and that's on the 3rd. And this is very hopeful. You might be very hopeful about, this could be like, you could be very hopeful about your financial situation. You could be very hopeful, or maybe even dreamy about your financial situation. But Mercury is going to, a couple days later, Mercury is going to square Neptune, and that's going to happen in a part of the chart that has to do with friends and your hopes, wishes, and dreams. and your finances. So it feels like things get kind of murky at the end of the week because there's a whole lot of information and none of it is clear to you yet. So this could involve a friend, and there could be some kind of very confusing communication going on right now. And if that person asks you for money, I suggest you do not give it to them unless you are giving it as a gift, but do not loan any money because with this you are likely not to get it back. And then we have Mars is going to oppose Pluto. So again, we're talking about 12th house. So we have karmic endings. We have you moving on karmic endings and changing your day-to-day living by doing so. Changing your health, perhaps. You could even get messages during meditation or in a dream from a spirit, from crossed over, like a message from somebody who has crossed over. But really, you have to watch out for open enemies and hidden enemies coming at you and trying to take your power. So you have to make sure that your mental thoughts are healthy so that you can stand in your day-to-day personal power. And then when we have the solar eclipse next week, and I'll talk about that, we have it in Gemini. So it's going to be in that friendship part of the sky again, and the hopes, wishes, and dreams. And Mercury is going to be involved again. It's not going to be very clear what is going on with this situation, either with a friend or with your hopes, wishes, and dreams and money, or a friend and money. There's just some very murky energy there that I'm not so sure is going to be very clear, but you have to be very careful to navigate. And I would say things will not become clear until probably like the 22nd when Mercury starts to go direct again. And with, this Mars Pluto, I almost see it as like a passive aggressive type of energy too, so be careful of people who are passive aggressive. Okay, so Virgo, your planet is turning retrograde today, so you feel this more than most because it is your planet. However, we do have Venus entering a part of the chart for you that has to do with friendships, acquaintances, social groups. Kind of like, what do you call it? Like, getting out there, socializing, networking. That's the word I'm looking for. And that's a really nice place because you seem really, when Venus is in this part of the chart, you seem really beautiful. And your words are very beautiful. So that's like a beautiful thing. So you'll be seen, as talented, and you'll be seen as beautiful in these areas. And it'll just make it nicer. You'll really want to be like in social circles. And then we have Mercury squaring Neptune. And this is just going to be all kinds of technology issues with you. But if you are in a relationship, do not expect clarity at all. This is going to be very murky, confusing types of situations. It makes me think of like ghosting or false promises made, or maybe words are said that are really not meant. So you just have to be kind of careful when it comes to relationships. I could foresee perhaps, technology issues at work are possible. It doesn't really look a lot of fun. It's meant to slow you down so that you will, think more logically and slow down the thinking. So just try to remember that. And then we have Mars opposite Pluto. And Mars is in Cancer, which is really like more of a passive aggressive energy, but Pluto is in your fifth house of partnerships, romantic partnerships, and children, and creative projects. So it's possible that you could have, someone sort of being passive aggressive with you, perhaps a romantic partner, perhaps a child, kind of trying to, I kind of see this as like sort of attacking your power, but in a passive aggressive type of way. So you just kind of have to watch out for that as the week goes on. And then next week we will have a solar eclipse in Gemini. So that is going to be a new beginning for you in the work area, in the status area. But you're not really going to understand what that is until probably more the end of the month, because Mercury is going to be so confusing. Information will be very confusing at that point. All right, so join me next week when we talk about that a little more. Okay, Libra. So we have June 2nd, Venus entering Cancer. So this is happening in a part of the chart for you that has to do with your career. This really makes career actually very nice. Your social status, how people know you in the world gets really nice. This is nice. I like Venus here for bosses. Bosses tend to look at you a lot nicer when Venus is here. So, play that up. If you have to ask for a raise, I would ask before the 3rd of June. Jupiter is going to trine Venus here, so that's going to be very lovely for you. People will be looking at you like you are an asset to the company, or you are, you are very talented, or you are very needed. But the energy does change up as we go into the week. On June 5th, we have Mercury is going to square Neptune. So if you are involved in a legal matter, there could be some miscommunications. There could be some confusing energy around that. There could be confusing energy as far as the internet goes, or any projects that you're doing, any kind of work projects you're doing that are far away with far away people. So if you're communicating on the internet or email or phone or whatever it is, just expect that to go kind of, crazy and not to be clear at all. And, definitely tech issues probably at work. Communication misunderstandings, all those things apply. You're just not going to really know what's going on for a while until Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. And we also have Mars opposing Pluto. So, it's possible that, you have to take an action on the home area. So, not sure if somebody is trying to take your power at home, or if you have a conflict with somebody at home, but you're going to have to sort of balance the work and the home area. So you might want to, think about like what actions you can take to have, there's something happening with your power in the home situation, or with a real estate situation, and you're going to need to take some kind of action on that. And you definitely don't want to take, any too aggressive, but you want to be aggressive enough to keep your power. Because Pluto and Mars tend to be power struggles. And if you think back to like August, October, December, those were all power struggles that we had with this energy. So again, here it is. You know more of the story now. You're ready. You're better prepared to deal with the matter now. Next week, we have a solar eclipse in Gemini. So for you, that's good, because Gemini is an air sign like you are, and the only thing is Mercury is retrograde during this, so you're really just not going to know what the outcome is, what this new beginning is. But it will be in that area of philosophy, higher education, law, broadcasting. So be patient. Don't believe everything you hear. Take it with a grain of salt. That is my advice on that one. Okay, Libra. So Scorpio. So Scorpio, we start the beginning of the week with Venus entering Cancer. And that falls in a part of the chart for you that has to do with long distance travel, legal matters. It's going to have to do with higher education, law, trying to think, philosophies, broadcasting. So things will get better in that area when Venus is there. So if you have legal matters going on, things should get a little bit better with that. It's going to trine Jupiter, June 3rd. So there could be an opportunity to meet somebody, a romantic partner perhaps, in an educational setting. If you are in a college setting, take advantage of that. This is just a very hopeful, romantic type of energy. Kind of get carried away. And this could even be like you showcasing your talents in some way too. Like it could be with a romantic partner, or it just could be you working on a project with people and they're seeing your talents. Okay. And Mercury is going to, a couple days later, the energy kind of switches up because Mercury is going to square Neptune, same part of the chart. So, you could be getting into this deep romantic relationship with somebody and, kind of hiding out and perhaps, just kind of spending time with this person. It seems so hopeful and seems so, magical, but Mercury is retrograde, so, it might not be what it seems. So you really have to watch out for any kind of miscommunication as far as romantic partners go and, intimacy, I would say. I would even say watch out for lying. Somebody could be lying to you. Okay, and then we have Mars opposing Pluto, and because these are your planets, this is going to be a little more important for you. So if you are in a legal situation, you want to watch for somebody trying to take your power. If there is an agreement that you're asked to sign or something, it almost seems like somebody's trying to take your personal power, whether it be like through your philosophies or through perhaps like an agreement of some kind, or even on social media. This could even be social media. Somebody might kind of come at you trying to take your power away, so you're going to have to really figure out how you're going to balance that. So just be aware of that, because Mars, Pluto together are war, and Scorpios, you can get in that war mindset really quick if you want to. So you want to be careful not to, you don't want to hurt anybody, but at the same time you want to defend yourself and make sure that you are being true to who you are. And it just looks like there's a lot of communication that has the potential to be I don't want to say volatile, but maybe just potentially aggressive, perhaps. And you want to be aggressive, but just aggressive enough, not too much, not overboard. I guess that's what I'm saying. And then we have so next week we'll talk about the solar eclipse in Gemini. Again, Mercury is involved. It's going to be kind of confusing, but it will be in that 8th house. And the 8th house is intimacy and joint monies and things like mediumship and I'm thinking like, confusing. I'm thinking confusing intimacy issues or confusing money issues, but a new beginning nonetheless that will actually be beneficial, but probably not until later on in the month. And you probably won't know what's going on until the 22nd when Mercury is going direct. Okay, Scorpio. Okay, Sagittarius. So this week we have Venus entering Cancer. So for you, this is a part of the sky that has to do with money and investments, money that comes from sources other than like your job. So this is nice if you are going to make some kind of investment. I would do it before the 3rd. If you are going to, let's see, this could be money for your home too. So if you were going to make an investment in your home, or something with a home and money, this would be a great time to do it. I would do it before the 3rd of June. And it's possible you could even get like a sum of money for your home. You could get, I don't know, something to make your home nicer. And then we have the energy switches up a bit when we get to the 5th of June and when Mercury squares Neptune again. So Mercury square Neptune for you is happening in a part of the sky that has to do with relationships and relationships in the home. So it's going to be very likely now that there are miscommunications in any kind of partnerships or relationships that you have right now. Things are going to seem foggy. You want to make sure that you are being clear when you are communicating with a romantic partner. Things could go kind of haywire. It's possible I would not sign any documents under this until Mercury goes direct. So Sagittarius, I would say wait until the 22nd if you can to sign any kind of documents, because I don't think that this is good energy to sign anything. So if you're selling your house or something, you hold off if you can. And Jupiter is there, so the money is there, like the blessing is there. But under Mercury Neptune, it's just kind of a mess, like as far as contracts go and miscommunications. Okay. And I could even see like this energy, Mercury square Neptune, being like text messages that never get sent, or you didn't see them or something like that, and your romantic partner gets really mad at you. And then we also have, at the same time, we have Pluto opposite Mars, or Mars opposite Pluto. So this can be about, this could be maybe somebody knowing that you're going to have money and then kind of coming after you for the money, or trying to assert themselves in that situation with the money. And you want to just make sure that you preserve your personal power, you stick to your values, you communicate your values, and you might just have to you might have to show somebody that you're keeping your personal power. You might have to decide how to act upon that, your values and your personal power. Okay, Capricorn. So we have Venus moving into Cancer. So for you, this is part of the chart that has to do with relationships. So relationships could get really good right now. Nice time to meet somebody. Mercury and Neptune are square each other though, so it does make it very confusing. What you see is not necessarily what you get. But I think it would be I think with Venus here though, it's going to be fun. Mercury square Neptune is going to happen in a part of the chart that has to do with your work area and, social media, neighbors, cousins, and communications. So, expect communication going haywire, expect internet issues, expect travel delays, expect all those things in your day-to-day. This is supposed to kind of slow you down and, make you think about what is real and what isn't. Jupiter is going to trine Venus in the beginning of the week on the 3rd, which is really nice for communication and relationships, but then the energy kind of changes up really quick when Mercury squares Neptune. So, like I said, if you're going to meet somebody in the beginning of the week would be the best, and then, communication might get a little crazy after that, but you'll know what's going on. It'll start getting better around the 22nd when Mercury goes direct. Okay, so we also have Mars opposing Pluto for you. So it's going to be that you have to, somebody, maybe a partner, especially if you're in a committed relationship, maybe a partner, and you have a disagreement about something and you have to just assert your, what you feel. And you have to kind of work it out. And Venus and Mars here in this part of the chart are the cosmic lovers. So I don't see it as being too dramatic, but, it could be about an issue that came up like last August, last October, last December, and you are kind of getting another piece of the puzzle, and you have to kind of balance yourself and your partnership somehow. So maybe you're leaning more towards yourself, or maybe being selfish or something, and you have to act on your relationship instead. And if it's not relationships, I would say like maybe you have an agreement that needs to be hammered out, and you have to take action on the agreement, but you can't compromise yourself or your personal power too much. And then next week, June 10th, we have a solar eclipse that's happening in a part of the chart for you that has to do with your work area. So it's definitely a new beginning as far as either health goes, your health regimens, your day-to-day or your day-to-day work environment. But because Mercury is retrograde, I don't think you're going to really know what that exactly entails until the end of the month. Okay, so I would expect confusion this week. Take it with a grain of salt. People could be gaslighting, lying to you a little bit. Just kind of, take it with a grain of salt, especially at work. You might not be hearing the total truth. And as long as you're aware of that, I think you're okay. So Aquarius. So we have Venus moving into Cancer, and that is going to be a part of the chart on the 2nd that has to do with your day-to-day work environment and your health. So things could start potentially looking a lot nicer as far as health, and your work environment could get a lot nicer. You could start to look very valuable with Venus in the work area. You could start to make more money with Venus in the work area. It is going to trine Jupiter on the 3rd, so if you're asking for a raise or trying for a promotion, I would do it before the 3rd. So do it quick. The energy does change up a couple of days later when we have Mercury square Neptune. So Mercury retrograde is going to square Neptune. This is going to be in a part of the chart that has to do with children. It has to do with romantic partners, and it has to do with projects that you're working on and kind of creative projects. So you could see very confusing energy as far as, having to do with romantic partners and values. Perhaps it's very confusing. You're not communicating your values well, or your romantic partner is not hearing them well. It could be, maybe a child, maybe this has to do with a child is, not communicating completely with you, or it's getting confusing. You think you're understanding and you're not understanding. So there's a lot of room for potential misunderstandings here. It does look like there's miscommunication about finances too, so you have to be really careful with that. It could be with a child, it could be with a romantic partner, but finances and communication of finances will be very confusing, or there could even be potentially like lying going on as well. And Mars is going to oppose Pluto in your 12th house. So this might be current, known, and unknown enemies facing off. Think back to what was going on in your life in August, in October, in December. So, somebody, an open enemy of some kind could, potentially come after your personal power now. And, you have to see what you can do to preserve your personal power. This could be you taking action on your subconscious thoughts too, because Pluto is in the area of the subconscious, and Mars is in the 6th house, so maybe taking action on healthy thoughts, or taking action on making your thoughts healthier as well, or your mental health healthier as well. Next week we have a solar eclipse in an air sign, Gemini, just like you. So this is going to be in your 5th house of children. It's going to be in the 5th house of romance. So there is a new beginning with children, romance, or creative projects. And because Mercury is there, I think the details are going to be very fuzzy. You're really not going to know what's going on until the end of the month, probably around the 22nd. When Mercury turns direct, things will start to become clear, but it almost seems like it's related to the money issues or the communication of values. All right, Aquarius. Pisces. So we have Venus entering Cancer. And Venus entering Cancer is happening in a part of the chart for you that has to do with romance and partners. So this could actually be very nice for romantic partners, meeting somebody, but I would do it very quickly before the Mercury square. It will confuse things, but still meeting somebody would be good. The energy is really good for this around the 3rd. I would probably say before the 3rd of June. Meeting somebody, perhaps... Maybe I would say on social media, something like that. But when Venus enters this part of the chart, you're going to have a better time meeting people and in a relationship if you are in a relationship. And this is also good for children too. Venus just makes everything kind of flow a little nicer, feel a little nicer. So if you have children in your life or want children in your life, this is good energy for that. But then, very quickly the energy changes. Mercury squares Neptune yet again, and it's Mercury retrograde this time. So there's miscommunications perhaps in the area of the home. Maybe you're not communicating well, or somebody you live with isn't communicating well, or if you're thinking of moving, then those communications are getting messed up and you're not really understanding and things are not clear and everything's kind of foggy. So we're really probably not going to know what's going on until the 22nd of June. So just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything you hear. Let's see. And we have Mars opposing Pluto. So that is happening in a part of the chart for you that has to do with friendships, social groups that you belong to, and romantic partners. So I'm kind of wondering if some of your friends have a problem with your romantic partner, or your romantic partner has a problem with your friends. But there's just seeming to be some kind of clash there where you have to kind of balance the two out. Mars and Pluto can sometimes indicate anger. Think back to August. Think back to October, December. It just kind of seems like maybe you have to kind of balance that friendship and romantic partners area, or maybe even like, friendships and children in your life. But there does seem to be like you have to take some kind of action to sort of balance those two areas in your chart. And then next week, we'll talk more about the solar eclipse in Gemini, and for you, it's happening in a part of the chart that has to do with the home. So, new beginnings in the home area. So, and you probably, again, you won't know what's really going on with that until Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. So, just, kind of stay vigilant. Don't believe everything you hear. All right, Pisces.